Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
We're just a couple of cookie crazy kids in love that love reacting to some Fallout.
Hell yeah, we do.
And so this is Fallout Season 2, Episodes 5 and 6, The Survivalist and Cannabilism. Joy.
Great.
Yeah. And because it's Fallout, we have a special drink.
Yeah, we do. It is the Stim Pack Spritzer, which of course is not complete without a Stim Pack, so you gotta put that in there.
Yep.
And, stir it up because that's just a good idea.
Cheers.
Cheers. I was about to drink and I was gonna miss the cheers.
Ooh.
That was a foul.
Filming foul.
Filming foul.
So if you want all of our Fallout reactions, check out the description of this video. We got a playlist there for you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Zion National Park was a nice place to visit back before the war. A valley where folk came to turn off their Pip-Boys and pretend they were roughing it. Some of the people in the back-when times didn't think of camping as a vacation, though. They saw it as a way of life, taking pleasure in training their survival skills. Randall Dean Clark, a U.S. Army soldier, was one such survivalist. He was lucky enough to be a few miles away from Zion Park when the Great War began. He was a family man, but he also loved to spend his time alone in the woods.
Yeah.
He was coming back to his family when the bombs fell. He witnessed Salt Lake City, his home, and his family incinerated. He knew the park would provide refuge in the aftermath. He survived deep within a cave here as the fallout settled over the dying world outside. He kept journals of his time alone, typed into computers hidden all over the valley. Only a handful of entries over the course of decades. A man of few words who never suspected that his thoughts would be read by strangers 100 years after his death. Yet, through his tale of survivor's guilt and suicidal episodes, he inadvertently told the history of the tribals who live here now. After close to 20 years alone in Zion with nothing but mutated bighorners, Clark discovered a band of survivors had moved into his private paradise in 2095. He had learned to move silently through the park and saw them long before they saw him. There was a language barrier, and Clark wasn't able to directly communicate with his new neighbors. He helped them when he could, silently and always unseen, leaving gifts of medicine and supplies. Despite his efforts to keep them safe, they were killed by a band of savage vault dwellers in February 2096. They came from Vault 22, or at least that's what we can assume based on the Vault Tech jumpsuits found on bodies scattered around Zion. Vault 22 was an experiment in botany that might have turned the Mojave into a garden as lush as Zion, but it ended up working a little too well. Some of the residents hightailed it out of there and tried to take Zion for their own. They committed atrocities against the settlers who had come here first. Even though he was outnumbered, Clark took his revenge.
They eat
He had
people,
spent
throw
his
them on the grill
life
like
surviving in the wild, not cooped upside a vault that provided everything he needed at the touch of a button. For 11 months, he killed them before they fled in early 2097, leaving him alone once more in his empty Garden of Eden. Well, not entirely alone.
Get off my lawn.
One of the women from Vault 22 remained behind, and she soon became Clark's second wife. She would have made him a father for the second time, too. But a complication in her pregnancy only made him a widower twice over. That would be his last face-to-face contact with other people. The park drew more visitors as Clark's beard began to turn gray. Most were unsuitable as companions, and Zion's guardian eradicated them. However, in his elderly years, Clark found the opportunity to share the knowledge he had learned before the war and afterward. In 2108, a new generation of children arrived in Zion, born after the war and unaccompanied by any adults, maybe raised in a vault with no grown-ups. For 16 years, Clark watched over them, but never revealed himself. Didn't want to let them learn that their mysterious benefactor was just an old man on his last legs. He wrote them letters, gave them books and supplies, almost everything he had to ensure that they would grow into good people. And that they did.
Good on you.
Their descendants became the tribe now called the Sorrows, and they still view him as a supernatural force that watches over them. In a sense, he still is. After decades of tending Zion, he knew his life was drawing to a close, so he found a spot high above Zion where his children wouldn't discover him, and allowed age, disease, and the elements grant him the death he could never inflict on himself. He's rested here for over a century, his last journal entry with him. Too modest a man to take credit for his good deeds while he was still alive. but he hoped that someone would learn the tale someday. What? Oh, you don't want to know what those savages from Vault 22 did to those other settlers.
Yeah.
Like I said,
You're
it was an
right.
atrocity, and Mr. Clark avenged it. What they did is considered a crime against nature by most people. But they do that kind of thing all over the wasteland. Some fight against the impulse, while others embrace it, try to control it. But that is a story for another day.
It's actually a story for today, but we're going to get to it in a second. All right, so Bucky's going to give us his feedback on this episode. I thought, just thinking about it, the Survivalist, I'm just like, yeah, I would be so dead because I have none of those survival skills at all. And also I liked how the fact that like he was doing it from operating from the shadows, and like he like didn't want to take credit, but also like didn't want people to, it's another way to survive because he wasn't so closed off that he didn't have any like sympathy or anything like that for other people and helping other people out. Like you still want to be part of society, but like you just can't trust people at that point after you've seen what you've seen. You know, and I think you don't want to get too close to people and have them die again, like, you know, after what you've gone through.
I did find it interesting, his sort of silent benefactor kind of persona that he had where, you know, it's an interesting commentary on human nature that simply surviving was not enough. But as you, I think, very astutely put it, you can't trust people and you're afraid to get close to people. So like you're in this weird limbo between isolationism and loneliness being not fulfilling and actual love and companionship and trust being terrifying. So he found a very interesting middle ground in being this person who finds a group and finds a way to help them while never getting too close. And I just thought that was a really interesting commentary on humanity, because I think that's probably what a lot of people would be feeling if they were in, you know, the nuclear apocalypse and somehow survived this crazy world.
Yeah, well, I mean, people have trouble trusting other people now.
Yep.
So don't even need that to happen. But okay, you ready for the next one?
I am. And Bucky is too.
Cram! It's the
Thanks,
mystery
Spam.
meat with a different taste adventure in every bite.
Oh.
Is it pork, chicken, beef? You never know with Cram.
Oh, God.
Cram is made with parts of real animals just like the ones you see on farms. And it's processed with advanced meat recovery
my
methods
God.
only possible with state-of-the-art slaughtertrons.
Slaughtertron!
Good enough for our boys on the front line, so it must be good enough for your kids at home. Every box contains 20 grams of protein and a free Captain Cosmos decoder ring. Cram! Cram some down your gullet today.
The New Vegas Strip is known for gambling, chems, and leggy showgirls. Most people see it as a pleasure pit for the lowest of humanity's urges. But the fellow who runs the town is hoping to appeal to a more sophisticated crowd, too. The Ultralux caters to tourists who want a taste of the sweet life. The casino has roulette and blackjack, but the real gambling happens in the restaurant, where their uninhibited chef, Philippe, serves cuts of exotic meats from all over the wasteland. Take it from me, if you ever visit the place, skip the meat and stick to the salad bar.
Yeah.
What I mean, Edna, is that before Robert House cleaned up Vegas, there were lots of cannibals here. Now they're all apparently gone, though there are still some fiends in the outskirts of town that are quite open about eating people. These dandies in the white glove society can play dress up, but they were nothing but savages prowling the ruins of Vegas just a few years ago. Cannibalism is practiced all over the wasteland, sometimes out of necessity. One notable wastelander even made a snack out of their own toe. There are also people who do it because of an irresistible urge to consume the flesh and blood of other humans.
Oh, thanks, Edna. Nice job.
Oh, God.
Just eat a hamburger, it'll hit the spot. You can see him on
Great
the
choice of
griddle
music.
going flippity-flop. Makes you want to do the boogie to the hamburger hop. They're open up 24 hours a day. Just waiting and hoping all the folks will say, put a burger on the griddle, do a flippity-flop.
Do a flippity-flop.
And a pickle on top.
Don't kill me!
too late. You're like, you're dead, dude.
Yeah.
Well, since you asked so nicely not to kill you and you pleaded and begged for your life, sure.
In the old world, there used to be a place called Transylvania. Storybooks claim that it was home of men who changed into wolves on nights when the full moon shone, and winged creatures flew through the night on bat-like wings. The mythical vampires drank the blood of their victims and shunned the sunlight. It was just a story, but the thing about mutations is that each throw of the genetic dice has a small chance of creating a dramatic mutation, like vampirism, or hematophage, as the Poindexters call it. Out east in the capital wasteland, there was a man named Vance who came out ahead in the genetic lottery. He was born with the ability to regenerate himself through drinking blood, and also had charisma and a knack for finding people who shared his cannibalistic tendencies. Vance knew that he and his kind were cursed with the urge to commit a crime against nature,
Does he have an oven
so
mitt
he
on?
created his own society with laws to temper their hunger. He and his followers didn't eat flesh and only drank blood. They never preyed on children and did not breed so that they would not inflict their curse upon their children.
Good, they have a code.
Vance taught his flock to only feed for sustenance and never hunt for pleasure. Above all, they never killed another member of their kind. Not exactly the Bill of Rights, but this family of vampires were a step above other cannibal clans. Although they could walk in the sunlight, they chose not to and made a home for themselves underground. From there, they used Vance's unique gifts to gather other cannibals for their family and train them in the ways of the vampire. Despite Vance's good intentions, the family still preys upon villages near their lair. They kill people, and it's small consolation to their victims that the family only drinks their blood. Seems like some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement could be worked out, but it's only a matter of time before some self-righteous Van Helsing type charges into the family's lair and cuts loose with a flamethrower. No, Edna, vampires don't eat robots. I've been all over this wasteland, and I've never seen anyone eat a robot. There's some awful peculiar mutations out there, but nothing that makes people feed on iBots. I'm not saying it's impossible. After all, that base in Mariposa produced plenty of mutated curiosities. Some of them did things most folk couldn't imagine. But that is a story for another day.
So what do you think about cannibals?
They're freaky. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how, though, they have, vampires in here, but they have like a code and they only drink blood and, they don't hurt children. I thought that was a cool little element to add to it. So it makes me think, there's gotta be like some werewolves in here as well. I can't have vampires without werewolves.
I'm also curious about like the carnival mask that the cannibals were wearing, like in the casino, and then of course on the thumbnail it shows that. Like I don't know what it is about carnival masks, but they've come up in horror things and they are always super creepy.
Mm-hmm.
They're not one of those things that has to be creepy. Like clowns have to be creepy. They will always and forever be creepy. But a carnival mask at carnival could be fun and not necessarily freaky. It's just, man, the minute you put it in a horror movie, that tonal shift around it changes and it becomes very unsettling.
I just love the mix of music with imagery here, in this one in particular. I mean, Fallout always does a good job with that, since I kind of like the old-timey music anyways. But yeah, this one in particular was great. The flippity flop. It's great.
I agree. That was nice.
Let us know what you thought about this down below in the comments. And if you want all of our Fallout reactions, check out the description of this video because we got a playlist there for you. We got a link to our Patreon. We can get early ad-free access to our Fallout reactions and the other reactions on Definitely Not Definitive.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for Fallout Season 2, Episode 5 and 6. But just keep in mind
that our reaction is definitely not definitive.